Belichick's lost a step to me.
I'm not going to do this.
This is Anik Squared.
What's up, Jon? Glad to have you back on the home soil from the United Arab Emirates. Week 8, Anik Squared. Jason Anik joined by my identical twin brother, Jon Anik. What's up, man, dude? Missed you last week. Missed doing the show. Crazy week for me, man. And quickly, just have to tell our audience, who I appreciate you joining us, sat down to prepare the show last Tuesday. Really very calm day, beautiful day in South Florida. My wife comes home from dropping our girls in sudden and excruciating pain, leading to pretty much the worst 9 days of my life, emergency abdominal surgery in the hospital until yesterday. She is home safely. But it was quite a week having you all the way over there at a very emotional time in my life was challenging, but I'm glad to see you. You actually beat her home. You left for Abu Dhabi. She went into the emergency room. And you did that whole week and came home and beat her home. But I'm glad to see you. Glad to be back here talking some football. What is up?
Well, thank you. And I'm just so thankful that Amanda's out the other side, so to speak. You're not going to hear me say she's out of the woods, but she's out of that side of it. And everything that she was dealing with is just absolutely insane. But it's good to be back in the United States of America. I had my picks ready to go. And of course, she had to call off the show. But we are back after the week off. And of course, when I was asked for my selections later in the week for graphical purposes, I'm in my own head, right? So I'm looking back at my script for week 7 that fell on the cutting room floor with all of my selections. And those would have been 3 and 2. I think that the 5 picks I submitted to Cody were 2 and 3, but we're ready to go, right? It's been a tough year for a lot of people. I'm excited to attack week 8. A lot of mismatches on the board, and we have an outstanding guest to bring your way today, if maybe not as high profile as Daniel Cormier.
Oh, well, I love it. I almost went full Jon Anik fade when I saw your 5 picks, because given the circumstances, I had access to them. So I almost went full Jon Anik fade. But I got to start here quickly. I know everyone's elated in New England, Patriots fan, Mac Jones, like all of a sudden the guy, like thrilled with the win. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm thrilled that they beat the Buffalo Bills, but this isn't what I'm looking for. Like, this is just the perfect path to mediocrity. Still don't think he's the guy. Yeah, he performed well. They almost choked it away. I hate to even say this. I wish they did. I will say, coming down here this week, though, at 2 and 5, you come down here and you beat the Dolphins, then maybe I'll run down that bandwagon and hop on.
All right, so our guest today, who's coming up here in about 3 minutes, is actually pretty intrinsically involved when it comes to Mac Jones, because his famous uncle has actually coached Mac Jones as an individual. But Speaking in terms of tanking versus not, there's no such thing as tanking in the NFL, right? I am very much anti-tanking when it comes to, say, the New England Patriots, right? You don't want any of the young players, culturally, competitively, or otherwise, to experience 1-16 or a 3-win season. You want them going out believing that they can beat a depleted Buffalo Bills team in division. And as a New England Patriots fan, it's always going to feel good when you beat Josh Allen, right? Because even though they don't have their entire package 1 through 45, they still got 17. And anytime the Patriots within division can beat the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen, that's reason to celebrate. And also, I would suggest to those people who would offer up that Bill Belichick can't get 1 through 45 motivated on game day. 2 and 5, it's on to fucking Miami, and you can shut your trap too, Jay. You can shut your trap too.
Well, and truthfully, you can be sure I'll give that television a little more love than maybe I do the Red Zone or some of these other games. Like, they definitely piqued my interest a little bit. And nice for Mac Jones to get some of those Alabama plays called. If you recall, a couple years back, a game against Buffalo, Bill Belichick only let him throw it 3 times. So let him rip it a little bit. I'm happy for Mac Jones. Don't get me wrong. I'm not rooting against him. I just want to hoist trophies. I'm not looking to be like 8 and 9 for the next 5 years and Belichick creep into whatever Shula's record is that Andy Reid is going to leave in the dust. Go ahead.
There's no guarantees in the NFL draft, though. There's no guarantees that it shakes the right way. And even that number 1 quarterback that everybody wanted, is Bryce Young the real deal, right? There's so many different things that go into it. I would rather the young players experience a competitive environment and fight in a league that is so crazy and week to week that you just never know what's going to happen. And maybe in week 18, as crazy as it sounds, you're actually competing for something, or at least you have a chance to bounce somebody out.
But you're referring to tanking. You're using the word tanking. I'm not talking about tanking. I don't want Mac Jones to tease the fan base for the next 5 years. I want the switch to be flipped. And there are plenty of smarter people than me, whether it's calling Malik Cunningham a USFL quarterback. They keep waving him and he keeps on coming back on the practice squad. But don't let anyone fucking claim him, okay? Because at some point, someone's going to claim him and it's going to be back to burn you. I'm telling you.
Well,
I'm telling you, bro.
I don't know.
I know you don't want to hear
Cunningham's the guy. No, I think eventually most of these teams are going to have somebody that can move a little bit. Even when I think about Jalen Hurts versus Brock Purdy in an NFC championship game setting, give me the guy with wheels every day of the week.
All right, before we make our picks for Week 8, let's see if we can get some sharp information and analysis. First, right to our first segment. Tire and Ice presented by Toyo Tires. Guys, the road ahead for this football season is uncertain, and there's definitely no roadmap available for players, fans, or coaches. But in order to arrive at the big games, you need to get there safely. So the next time you're in the market for tires, there's no better option route than a quick slant to Toyo Tires. Whether it's a set of open country tires for the mountain of Denver or 4 new Celsius Sports for a city like LA, you can ride with confidence and no regrets with their 500-mile or 45-day trial. Open roads await this fall. Hit up toyotires.com to find a dealer near you. Toyo Tires, open roads await.
All right, now
Toyo
joining
Tires
us.
shirt. I love it.
And we are so happy to have him, one of the longest reigning standing members of our UFC live production team, conduit to the stars. He owns 9er Sports and Entertainment at 9er Sports on X. It is at the number 9ER. 9er Sports, full name's Craig Conley, but the great Niner is with us here today. My dear friend Niner, thank you for joining us on Anik Squared.
Well, thank you for having me, fellas. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, so you're our Detroit Lions insider, but you're a whole lot more than that. And I guess I can say at this point, you're one of the few guys on this UFC crew that, backdates me and probably by a full decade. So if you don't know Niner, he sits to my immediate left. He does not like his particular job title. I mean, we can call you whatever we want today. You manage the stage for the UFC. Nobody does it better. Nobody's more appreciative to have you there on fight night. And nobody notices it more when you're not there than me. But tell everybody, just before we get into the NFL stuff, when was your first time, sitting in that seat for the UFC?
Thank you for the kind words, first of all. But yes, March of 2000, UFC 24.
God.
And my first show, and the great late Bruce Connell, who I was doing NHL on ESPN with, was our producer. And he goes, I need this help doing this thing called the UFC. Sure, I know nothing about TV, but I'll give it a shot. UFC 24, Lake Charles, Louisiana. We get there. I have no idea what to expect. And I believe it was Pedro Izzo was fighting Kevin Randleman, was the main event that night. It was the infamous Kevin Randleman slips on the ice backstage, goes down, hits his head. We got to cancel the fight. Beer bottles coming down, getting drenched with stuff. I'm like, Bruce, what the hell did you just get me into? Fast forward, I'm coming up on 24 years, John.
It's amazing. Well, and you've seen every circumstance along the way since then. Well, we know you're a rabid NFL fan. As much as you love the mixed martial arts stuff, you can be found with your head buried in scoreboard on many Saturday nights. So
don't be
real
giving
quick,
away all
though,
my secrets. I got to keep a job a little longer here.
all right. So I know you have a kinship with a lot of professional athletes. Charles Barkley, probably chief among them, as one of your best friends in the world. Mac Jones, you consider a friend. But tell our audience, if you would, a little bit about your famous uncle and how much he's meant to a lot of NFL quarterbacks over the years.
Yeah. So Tom House.
Tom House.
Tom House, the infamous Tom House. He played a lot of years. I think it was probably 14 years as a big league pitcher. One of his early on claim to fame was he was on the Atlanta Braves, and he's the person that caught Hank Aaron's 715th home run ball in the bullpen. And you could see him in all the famous videos handing the ball to him at home plate. So that was pretty special. Fast forward all those years, he got to work with Nolan Ryan. He had Nolan Ryan throwing the football as the pitching coach for the Texas Rangers. Nolan Ryan gave him all the credit in the world at his Hall of Fame induction. And then people started coming to him and say, okay, if you're doing baseball and this and that, what else can you do? He got into golf a little bit. And then the NFL came. Drew Brees is with the Chargers. Down and out, doesn't know if he's ever going to play again. Last resort, goes to Uncle Tom. Uncle Tom gets him fixed. Rest is history with Drew Brees. Then Tom Brady comes and Dak Prescott. And all these other quarterbacks that he's worked with. So I've actually had a chance. Probably 2 years ago, I was in San Diego, and he had Sam Ellinger and Mac Jones on the field the same time. So I got a chance to meet Mac a few years back, go through some drills with him, watch him up and close firsthand. Great guy, and the kid's got arm strength. A lot of them do. I was able to catch some balls with Drew Brees, and you don't think someone that's under 6 foot that small has that kind of zip on the ball. And I'll tell you, these guys are special, and what he's got going on with all these quarterbacks in the NFL, he's doing a great job.
Wow.
I love it. So I'm going to get to the football, but I got to say, John, because John always says this is not a UFC free zone. But, I've been traveling with John for a while, and the seat that I tend to occupy at the pay-per-view sort of right behind where you all are sitting. I think I got to give 9er credit for that, because the best seat I ever had, and shout out Amber, the best seat she ever got me in an arena. A few years back, I'm sitting sort of in the front row section, right? And 9er sees me in the crowd. He's like, what the fuck's he doing over there, right? Comes up, gets me, brings me back next to Rogan's security, and the rest is history. So thank you for that. But let's talk about your football team.
You deserve that seat. You deserve it.
I appreciate you,
Does he, though? I mean,
listen,
has he earned that seat?
Your brother puts you in the nosebleeds. Amber's the best. Amber hooks everybody up. But I just said, hey, you know what? You belong down here where everybody else is, and come join the crowd, and here you go. So,
I guess.
All right, so let's talk about your football. All right, John.
Verb. Let's get to the Detroit Lions, though, please.
Yeah, so let's get to the Detroit Lions. There's a locker room shot I'm sure you saw of Dan Campbell just with the number 5. And don't get me wrong, I love Dan Campbell. I've been drinking the Kool-Aid all year, but he made a big deal about win number 5. Really big deal with his hand like this. What's this number fucking mean, 5? And then, just 6 wasn't as easy to come by. I think David Montgomery's certainly important. Obviously, the NFL season ebbs and flows. The 49ers, I'm talking about them going undefeated. They've lost 2 straight. But what is the true ceiling? We obviously have the 49ers and the Eagles. John and I have really wanted to have the Lions be that next team. But as a fan of that team, are they there?
It's tough to say, but in my beliefs and what I've experienced in sports, they've had such a losing culture for so many years. You've got to be able to win, learn how to win, develop that winning culture, which, hey, they finally made the turn this year. Everybody's on the hype train, this and that. It's probably not going to happen this year. It may not happen next year, but it's trending in the right direction. And once you start to build that winning culture, which I love this coach, instilling that into them. So with that being said, I think, they're on the right track, and I think they're probably a year or 2 away, but they're getting there.
Well, you just don't know with this league, sort of what I was saying off the top of the show. And I do believe that the NFC is like a 3-headed monster right now. And I think the public perception or the narrative is that maybe it's a 2-headed monster. I think the Lions will be there, but this weekend is really telling, right? Because this is one of the easier games on their schedule. They should absolutely destroy this team, right? Dan Campbell's going to have them all sorts of fired up. So not to suggest that a win over the lowly Las Vegas Raiders is like a litmus test, but in terms of contention, if they don't put up a 34-13 this weekend, then it might be telling.
Yeah, I agree, John. You got to bury this team. This team is down and out. There's so much turmoil. There's locker room chatter of losing the locker room from the head coach there. So these are the teams you got to bury. If you want to make the next step in the next level, you can't just beat them. You got to bury them.
So
Craig 9er Conley with us here on Anik Squared at 9er Sports on X. Jay, please go ahead.
You see this guy, though, just everything's a fucking clean transition, right? I'm just going to be like, all right, buddy, next question. This guy Craig Conley.
Well, I was going to reset it a little bit. And, I was probably going to say, we try to get Tom House, but we'll settle for Craig Conley today.
I'll get him for you down the road.
Yeah, but I drive the bus on this program. John drives the bus on most television things that he does. But I'm just curious for you, because I know you gamble a lot. How much noise do you take in? How much tailing of sharps do you do? And how much do you like just betting what you think?
A lot of it is going with my heart, but you got to be smart about it too, because, as you know, if you're going to bet with your heart, you're going to come out on the losing side. Look at the stat last week. The seven most public bets went 0-7. So everyone knows you pretty much wanted to fade the public, but you got to take a look at the numbers, the situations, coming off road trips, East Coast, West Coast, things like that. But I've been learning a lot more. Hey, listen, everyone wants to take a favorite, right? And these dogs just keep winning and winning. And look what Minnesota did on Monday night. But everyone knows Monday night, you can't bypass a home dog. So a lot of it's, into like, I got to take my heart out of it a little bit more. You have your ebbs and flows and you're up and down, but been on a pretty good run right now. So I'm going to keep doing what's working.
So the Detroit Lions on DraftKings Sportsbook right now, 8 against the Raiders, Monday Night Football, October 30th, 4 days from now. So your heart is out of it, right? I mean, you're invested as a fan, but your heart is out of it. I know you wouldn't play the Raiders, but what are your thoughts on the Lions laying 8, and how does that particular side stack up to your favorite plays of the week?
Yeah, no brainer for me here. Again, I just said it a few minutes ago. They've got to bury this team. They're coming off a disappointing, huge loss. Weren't even in the game last week. And you want to get to that next level and you still want to be in the same talks of the San Franciscos and the Philadelphias, you got to bury them. I mean, I don't see this being anything less than a 13-point, 14-point win for sure.
So this guy can really play hockey, Craig, right? I know you can. This guy's a stick. Hockey player.
Golf.
What's that?
She's outstanding on the golf course as well. I don't know. Could you ever toss the fucking football Niners, or your hands too small, or what?
Yeah, I was able to toss it a little bit in the backyard as a kid, but
Tom House couldn't fix your arm.
Hockey and golf.
Yeah, his hands are plenty big to hold your fucking flashcards, John. You can be sure. But like, do you actually prefer watching hockey on television to the National Football League? No way, right?
100%.
You do.
Listen, hockey's a long season. It's 82 games, right? But you can't tell me, and Charles Barkley says the same thing, there's nothing better than watching playoff hockey.
I agree.
I mean, to watch 82 games, football, obviously a lot condensed schedule, 1 day a week, so to speak. But listen, hockey's my love. It's my passion. It's got me to where I am. I was able to meet all the people that I've met along the way because of hockey as well. So, lots invested there.
Yeah, and John's always said, like, of all the Boston championships, the sweetest one for him, correct me if I'm wrong, John, is 2011, hoisting Lord Stanley's Cup.
Not the sweetest one, the hardest one to obtain.
Yes.
What the Bruins did over those 25 or so playoff games in 2011 was just absurd. And at that stage of my life as a sports fan, at that age, being able to watch them do that and watch those games, the physicality, the toll it takes on you, comparing that to maybe an NFL team getting a bye week, right, and playing a couple games to win a Super Bowl. Yeah, Stanley Cup is the hardest pro sports championship to win, and Bruins are off to a pretty good start. I'm telling people, though, DraftKings Sportsbook right now, not a plug, plus 950, the Vegas Golden Knights to repeat as Stanley Cup champions. I'm telling you, folks, like, they're going to be in the Final Four. They have the biggest home ice advantage in the NHL. I need to wait till December to actually get a big ticket, or maybe my man Big Ron can handle that for us, Ronnie Pellegrino. But I'm telling you,
I'm in Vegas right now. I'll put it in for you. What do you need?
All right, honestly, when you're at a sportsbook, Niner, later today, please text me. I will Venmo you the money. I'm looking to put 2,500 American dollars on the Vegas Golden Knights to win the Stanley Cup if I can get plus 900 or better.
It's smart, John, because they are going to be in the Final Four. I mean, listen. The only other true competition coming out of the West right now is going to be Colorado, and I mean they just won it a few years ago. But listen, Vegas, what team has gone on after winning a Stanley Cup and started the season 7-0? Nobody. They're deep, they're stacked, they're physical, they're talented, they're getting the goaltending. The coach, we all know everything. The coach has a great track record, right?
Yeah.
What's not to like if you can get him at plus 950? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. You just got to stay healthy. And I was actually saying this. I don't know what the price was preseason, but I was saying this before the 7-0 started. Now it's like desperation time, like fucking Venmo your buddy Niners some money and get that action down. Because I just think the Vegas Golden Knights, I mean, health is really the only thing that I think is going to prevent them from going very, very far.
So we know you like the Lions -8. Any other against the spread selections that you love in particular? Maybe give us one this weekend.
Just one?
You can whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
I'll tell you what. These are the 5 that I'm looking at. If you don't mind me rattling.
Yeah,
off
I
5.
love it. I love it.
Okay, I'm going to start with the Buffalo Bills. Same reasoning that I just gave for the Detroit Lions. They got embarrassed last week. You toyed and let the Patriots take it to you. There's no way that and there's rumblings that Mayfield and Evans might be a little iffy to go in this game. The Bills have to make a statement too, because they're getting drowned out behind Kansas City, Baltimore, a couple of these other teams. Before you know it, they're going to be gone. So I got to love the Bills tonight in that spot. So I like the Buffalo Bills.
And that's laying 9.5, correct?
9.5. Yep.
Okay.
I'm also going to look at the Seattle Seahawks this weekend. My man Geno. They're at home. They're playing Cleveland. I just don't see PJ beating them in Seattle. No chance.
Yeah.
No
3.5 or 4 there. What do you got?
3.5 I have.
Okay.
Moving along. This is I got a little asterisk next to this one, but I love the Tennessee Titans. I love them. I'm not sold on Atlanta. I believe the spread is 3 in most places. Tennessee +3.
Yeah.
They're at home. My only reason that I say the asterisk, I hope Derrick Henry doesn't get traded before Sunday. There's rumblings that, he's out there and he's on the market. But with Will Levis possibly getting the reins, it's going to be a heavy dosage of Derrick Henry this weekend. I think our boy Vrabel will call up a great play calls for Levis and get him involved. Love that kid's arm. You can't. I'm not sold on Ritter in Atlanta. He's shown some glimpses, but I'm taking Tennessee +3 at home.
And by the way, Niner recently at a live UFC event introduced me to Mike Vrabel, so we very much appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Big Will Levis guy myself, actually. If I hadn't named ESPN's Michael Eaves Big Kentucky, maybe that would be the guy. But yeah, give me the big white kid, Will Levis, right? I mean, Malik Willis might get some snaps as well, right? I would like Tennessee if Will Levis is the guy. And you got a fucking direct line to Mike Vrabel. How about giving us some goddamn inside information, Niner?
I think it's going to be a heavy dosage of Henry. If they don't trade Henry before Sunday, he's going to be involved, and I think they're going to pound it down Atlanta's throat. They come.
All right, well, if it is Will Levis.
I don't like that kid Levis. Puts mayo in his coffee, but Mike Vrabel inducted into the Patriots. Inducting the Patriots Hall of Fame, got that nice red jacket, Mike Vrabel, on his bye week. Gotta love seeing a current NFL coach in New England getting that red jacket. I may like that play there. All right, Titans +3 at home. Yes.
Yep. Moving along, I got the Chargers, another team that's just been. I don't know if they have an identity this year. They got a great quarterback with all kinds of talent, but they really haven't come through. They're taking on a team at home in the Chicago Bears. No chance Chicago's going in and beating the Chargers at SoFi. No chance.
Yeah, with that young kid.
And I'll tell you what, there's no bigger fan for the young Chicago Bears quarterback for him to win last week, because his whole story, D2, the whole 9 yards. Hey, listen, I got overlooked by a lot of D1 schools too, in the hockey, and I was able to come out the other side, play a little bit of pro hockey in the minors myself. So, hey, when you see these kids doing it and getting their chance in the NFL and getting a W, hats off to them. But no chance he's going on the road and beating the Chargers.
All right, another heavy favorite, Chargers -9.
Yep. You're going to see a lot of these favorites covering these big numbers this week. My last pick, obviously, Detroit Lions. We've already discussed this morning, laying that number against Vegas. I mean, listen, I think Vegas gets embarrassed. I don't even know who's going to be their starting quarterback this week. You don't know what's going on with Devontae. They could fire McDaniels after this game. This might be it for him. So
should be.
I'm going Lions. They cover that number, single-digit number. They win easily, 13 or 14. And I should be going to that game Monday night. I'm in Vegas right now. Vegas is actually going to Detroit. I'm flying on the red eye tonight to Detroit to celebrate my birthday and my mom's birthday, but no big deal. I just want to throw that in there. And then what I should do is go to the game Monday night, but there's this thing called UFC in Sao Paulo next week, and I got to fly there on Tuesday. So,
Yeah, we're going to keep this guy in Florida. Yeah. So before we let you out of here, real quick.
I'm in 42H again, so I don't know what it was like from Detroit. So I figured I'd at least fly out of Phoenix.
So I know 9er Sports and Entertainment.com, but you want to plug this podcast on your chest before you get out of here? What do we got?
Here we go. We got the Back to You with KT and Pang. So Catherine Tappan, who shares the same agent as one Jon Anik, and Darren Pang, longtime NHL broadcaster, who's now with the Blackhawks, following around that young kid Connor Bedard, and also worked at TNT. We've been talking for probably a year and a half, 2 years. We finally launched our podcast. We had a great first guest on. We haven't teased it yet, but we're releasing it next week, and we're looking forward. We're talking everything across the board: sports, plane rides, trips, golf, you name it. A little bit of Hollywood. So it's more of a lifestyle type brand podcast. But you can find us on the Back to You show, the Back to You show, and that's where you can find us on X and Instagram, I believe.
I love it. Well, Jon, I'm sure there's nobody you'd rather sitting to your left, given this guy's demeanor, given how, you are full intensity, Jon. This guy, I've never seen him in a bad mood. I've never seen him anything but poised.
What?
Oh, you have, I guess. Huh?
Jason, you obviously haven't seen me on a Sunday morning waiting to board a plane.
Yeah, you don't want to fight Niner at an airport after a UFC live event. And, Ryan Mitchell wasn't necessarily ready for the fight that fateful morning. But
that was actually in Brazil,
Niner,
too.
No, yeah, it's great to have you on the program. It's interesting for me to talk to you in this setting as one of my dearest friends, because you sound like Canadian. You sound like you're from Michigan. When I
heard a little Chicago, right?
Turning on the Midwestern accent, getting ready for Catherine Tappan and Darren Pang on the fucking hockey podcast. But I don't know. You certainly sound like a hockey guy today.
Born and raised in Detroit. I mean, Windsor's only 10 minutes across the water, so close enough.
All right. Well, we appreciate the time at 9er Sports on X if you want a little back and forth with Craig Conley. Hey, we appreciate your time, brother, and we'll see if you can go 5-0 this week. And again, you go 5-0, we'll have you back later in the season. If not, you can fucking pound sand.
Hey, listen, I'll do better than DC, but thanks a lot for having me on. I love your show. You guys are doing a great job. Best of luck, and we'll see you guys soon.
You're the best, man. The great Craig Conley, 9er Sports and Entertainment. All right, man, we're going to quickly just bounce on week 7 real quick. So head to head, anyone who hasn't seen Anik Squared until this week 8, each week, Jon and I pick 5 games against the spread. We go against each other, our goal being to nail down 5 selections for the Westgate Super Contest out in Vegas, where we pick 5 games against the spread every week and try and win $1 million fucking dollars. Anyway, last week, Jon, 2-3. I went 3-2. So you are now overall 16-19. I am 21-14. So
wow.
5-game lead through 7 weeks. And just real quick, we brought in 3 of the games from our 10 picks into the contest. The one you pulled from mine, Seahawks -8.5 hit. The 2 you pulled from yours, Bills -8.5, lose outright to the Patriots, and Rams -3 to the Steelers. Those we pulled into the contest. But it is what it is. We go 2-3 in the contest. 17-18 overall with 17 points. Before I give you some of the standings out there in Vegas, anything you want to talk about week 7, contest, any of the plays?
No, I just think that for a lot of people, the last couple weeks have been particularly challenging. I feel like the board is a little bit intimidating this week with a lot of the big numbers, but very excited to be back. I was on an airplane in Abu Dhabi going from Doha, Qatar to Miami for that football Sunday, but have been catching up on highlights all week. And I do think there's still some unknowns, but I do think a lot of the elite teams are starting to separate themselves. It's weird to see the 49ers on the heels of back-to-back losses staring at Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals off a bye week. So just excited to turn the page. And again, I wish I could guarantee for the viewership that I'm going to beat you head-to-head, but still bullishly confident that we're going to end up ahead of you despite the early deficit.
I like it. So I'm not going to get into our specific plays in the contest last week, but so we did go 2-3, so we have 17 points. And I have to say, you may disagree with this, but it's not as if the leaders are necessarily killing it this year. So the leader has 26.5 points, right?
All right.
26, 8-1. So I know 9.5 games back is a ton, obviously, but that's not outrageous. You know what I mean? It's tightened up a lot. You know what I'm saying? Last week, as you said, you only have 13 games to choose from, 6 teams on a bye. I have a league where I pick every game against the spread. Everybody was just ice. So, but the leader, so it's I'm the captain 1, or I'm the cap, CAPT 1, 26.5 points. And in the basement, which I know you like to know, at 8-27 with 8 points, WV Illini 35. So win a couple 100,000 if you finish dead last. But so that winner is averaging 3.79s per week. It's less than a 4-1. Let's have a fucking week, Let's have a 5-1.
That dude is the captain. I salute you, sir. That dude is the fucking captain. But yeah, $100,000 to finish in last place.
So last week, 6 teams on bye weeks, felt like I was on a fucking bye. But no buys this week for any teams. Let's get to the pick. 16 games to choose from. Let's go. So, dude, following an NFL team can be a roller coaster ride, but no matter how good my team is, National Football League regular season Sunday is still my favorite 18 days of the entire calendar year. Got multiple screens going, locked in, bets all over the board. We at Anik Squared are happy to announce that we have partnered with our title sponsor, DraftKings Sportsbook, an official partner of the National Football League, to bring all new customers an exciting way to join in on the action right now. All customers download the DraftKings app, use our promo code SQUARED, that's SQUARED, bet just $5 and boom, $200 in bonus bets hit your account instantly. Don't wait any longer. Get some skin in the game. Download the DraftKings app now. You can stay in on the action. Use that $200 in bonus bets on DraftKings same game parlays. Combine multiple bets together from the same game for a shot at an even bigger payout. And if sports betting not yet available in your state, don't worry about it. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy and have the shot to win cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, sign up using promo code SQUARED. Again, bet just $5 on any wager and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. All right, let's get to it. 5 picks head-to-head against the spread. 16 games to choose from. Appreciate all the love this week. You have a 5-game deficit to overcome. You are being given control of the board. What is your first selection for week 8, sir?
I appreciate the control of the board. I lost my cellular telephone, so if it gets to the alternate selections, I have one if you start to steal some of my games. So we will take the lead. And the first play of the week for me is I'm going to go all the way to Monday Night Football. I want to make sure we get this one. Lions -8 against the Las Vegas Raiders. I am just not sure how the Raiders are going to keep up. I think Detroit has every advantage on paper. We talk a lot about Dan Campbell. I think he's going to have the boys ready to run through a fucking backyard shed this weekend after what happened in Baltimore. Lions top 3 in the NFC. If I believe that, I got to put my money where my mouth is. David Montgomery, questionable. David Montgomery is questionable. If he plays, I like Detroit -13.5. Raiders are 3-4. Quarterback situation is a mess. Head coach a mess. The Las Vegas schedule does lighten up from here. I count 6 winnable games for the Raiders the rest of the way. Giants and Jets in weeks 9 and 10. But I don't count this Monday Nighter as one of those 6 winnable games. Lions 41, Raiders 13, Lions -8 to headline my card for week 8.
Do you think Niner has any chance to be right that McDaniels really could be like a couple weeks away from getting canned?
I have no idea. I don't have my finger on the pulse like that.
No, I'm just saying, though, because I've been telling you for, I'd say, a decade. This guy's
You told
not
me the day after he got hired by the Raiders that they should fire him.
I probably told you after he got hired by the Broncos, dude's not a head football coach back in the day. Anyway, my first selection, and this line was 5.5, I think, when it opened, but I'm taking the Cincinnati Bengals +3.5 at the 49ers. Can't believe the 49ers actually have a chance to lose 3 straight. I don't think Brock Purdy's playing here in the concussion protocol. I see no way he plays. 49ers banged up. Debo Samuel's going to be out. As I said, they could lose. They've lost 2 straight. Much needed bye week for them, week 9. They could put it together with Sam Darnold. I understand Shanahan likes him, but Cincinnati coming off a bye week, they're 3-3. I certainly see them keeping this close. I think they have a great chance to win outright. Joey Burrow, I think the calf has to be a little bit healthier. And I think that line, once it's announced that Purdy's out, I think that line could get a little closer, maybe even dip to 3, 2.5. I always remember when this matchup plays itself out, 49ers Bengals, when they met in the Super Bowl. It was January of 1989. We were born in 1978. I feel like that's when we were sort of really starting to just fall in love with this league. But anyway, I really hope the Bengals can protect Joe Burrow. They are dead last in NFL in yards per game. I'm not ignoring that, but I think this week maybe helps them get right. I think Brock Purdy's more valuable than people think. Bengals still in last place in that division. They need it here. Buffalo next week. Give me Cincinnati +3.5. Pick one.
All right, next one for me, Seahawks -3.5, home to the Cleveland Browns. Gosh, I think this should be 6 or 7. The good number 3 is long gone at this point in time. Seahawks -3 was sitting out there begging people to take it. So this Deshaun Watson stuff is just getting out of control. And PJ Walker, like my personal trainer, Rio Santana, the Institute of Human Performance, Boca Raton, Florida, USA. He's better than PJ Walker on a flag football field. He didn't even play in college. So this is a fade on one side, also a big-time buy on Seattle, not putting them in that troika with San Francisco and Philadelphia and Detroit per se. But I do believe that Seattle is as good as like a Dallas, Like I think Seattle is a team that could cause problems when they get to the postseason. So I don't know, man. I don't know why this number is short. I guess that's a nod to the Cleveland defense. And I just can't see why you would bet Cleveland here in this particular spot. PJ Walker looks lost out there. Deshaun Watson's not going to play. And just some of the reporting, like go to Browns.com and see what the report is, right, on Deshaun Watson. It's just very bizarre, like trying to be strong and then definitely going to rest on game day. Like I'm not sure exactly what we're doing here. The team is particularly banged up. Maybe you like Pierre Strong Jr. I think 12th man gets involved in a big way here. I think it's a potential blowout with respect to that Cleveland defensive side of the ball. Seahawks minus 3.5 right now can be had on DraftKings Sportsbook. And me and 9 are pretty much aligned here out of the chute.
So anyone who's taken in Anik Squared in the past knows we can't be on the same side. So you can be sure I was on the Seahawks as well. Now I had it at 4. I even liked it. So you'll take 3.5. But I just have to add a couple points. The Browns have turned it over 14 times in the year. Seahawks only 6. Jerome Ford isn't going to play. Kareem Hunt is banged up. I mean, I don't think this Browns team is as good as their 4-2 record. I think Seattle is. So I hear you on that. Can't wait to see how the Browns go in and win that fucking game.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
They'll win outright.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to have to move and I'm going to adjust. And I you know what? I hate this next pick. I'm saying it right now. And I hate it more and more. And I can't even fucking believe it, but I'm going to do it, man. For the 3rd straight week, I'm going against the Baltimore Ravens. Why am I going against the Ravens, man? I love the Ravens. They've burned me twice and I'm going against them again. I'm taking the Cardinals +8 versus the Ravens. For me, this is simply because I think Kyler Murray's going to play. And I think he's going to give him a little bit of juice. And you know how much I like mobile quarterbacks in this league. It just changes everything. Like, of course, if Kyler Murray has a game and is running all over the field, it's going to be a headache for the Ravens, just the same way Lamar Jackson provides headaches every week. So I love the Ravens. There's no organization, no team I respect more, but I don't want to overreact to them stomping Detroit. They were in London. They're heading out west. I think the Ravens win. I'm not going to be shocked if they roll. Their defense only allowing 13.9 points per game, but I like Jonathan Gannon. I think he has the team ready. I like getting over that key number, so I'm taking the 8 with the Cardinals. I think Kyler Murray sometimes he can affect the chemistry in a negative way, but I think they'll get a little juice in week 1. And I think that game's going to be close. They get up 7-0. I love having those 8 points, Cardinals +8, my second selection.
I like how you don't like your second selection as we move along to my 3rd selection. And I really like this pick. So one game that I considered, and maybe this would end up in my alternate selections, I considered Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings at the Green Bay Packers because I just don't believe in Jordan Love. And maybe I've overrated Matty LaFleur as a head coach a little bit, right? But it's like I'm sitting here looking at Vikings. Do I trust Kirk Cousins and the Vikings to get a win at Lambeau more than, say, I trust Patrick Mahomes to cover a big number in division at Denver? No. Did I take that one from you too? I don't. Chiefs -7. Kansas City's on a roll. Offense, defense, special teams, head coaching, best player in the league, playing at a most valuable player level. These teams did play a close game on Thursday night at Arrowhead not all that long ago. The Chiefs won it 19-8. If you recall, fat genius Andy Reid, not happy thereafter. They cover the next week. I expect them to do that here. Chiefs are men on a mission. Taylor Swift is involved, although she has a tour.
Can't go a week without mentioning her, man. And anyone who tunes into the Anik and Florian podcast. This guy just so much Taylor Swift. I mean, you want to sing? I mean, I know you know a couple songs by heart. You want to sing a couple bars? Like no, I don't know any of it.
But I do want to beat you to the Chiefs -7, one of my favorite selections for week 8.
Well, and I can live with myself in the Super Contest on Sunday night. If I have the Chiefs on my board and it's a close game and they don't cover, like I can live with myself. I really can. My 3rd selection. you're going to like this. The Jets -3 at the Giants. I can't believe I'm saying it. And Cody Merrow, our producer up in New Hampshire right now, is not going to like this, but I like the Jets and I like the Dolphins. Like, I can't even believe and I'm not saying like them this week to cover. I'm saying I like them. I like the organizations. I love both coaches and in the division. I just can't believe as a Patriots fan, I'm saying that. I still don't like the fucking Bills though. But I want to root for the Jets. Like, I don't like the Giants at all. Last year, I couldn't get enough of Brian Dable. Like, that just, the bulb's dim for me a little bit. Robert Saleh, on the other hand, I can't get enough. I think he is the definition of what I'd want in a head football coach. And the Jets, 3-3, I still like their talent. They're hanging around for Aaron Rodgers, maybe miraculous comeback. But it's like you beat the Eagles, then a bye, and then what, you're going to give it back to the New York Giants? I don't care if it's Tyrod Taylor or Daniel Jones. Aaron Rodgers said on Hard Knocks, it's Jet Life Stadium, Jets. Give me the fucking Jets, small number, -3 against the Giants in New York.
All right, next selection for me. Another big favorite here. The Miami Dolphins -9.5 home to the New England Patriots. Let us not let the close nature of the week 2 matchup between these two teams fool us now that we have nearly 2 months of football to assess. Miami has the best offense statistically in the league. Historically great on a Rams level, maybe not, but they could get back there. Patriots, one of the worst offenses in the NFL. Mac Jones played well in week 7, right? Have you heard that? I mean, my goodness, right? Mac Jones plays a good game and it makes national news, right? Yeah, Mac Jones, I was on an airplane, right? He played well in week 7, loved to beat the Bills, awesome. That's one of the handful of reasons why this line is below 10 and not 13.5. Patriots defense has lost a lot of key cogs, right? Didn't Christian Gonzalez have a big interception in the week 2 meeting between these two teams covering Tyreek Hill? So injury side, about the New England injury report, but the Miami report pretty robust right now as we sit here on a Thursday, especially on offense. So Jalen Waddle limited at practice on Wednesday with that back injury. What a savage, though. He did return to that game against Philadelphia in however much pain. So I think he'll play. Raheem Mostert missed all of Wednesday with an ankle. Tyreek Hill held out of Wednesday's practice with a hip injury. All these guys are going to go, right? Just a bunch of fucking horses, man. Fastest team in the NFL. I think Mike McDaniel is going to have these boys fired up off a loss. Long flight to Germany, though, beckons for a showdown with the Chiefs coming up. So perhaps that's a factor here. But you got to get this one first. And I think Miami does in a big way. Fins up, Dolphins 31, Patriots 14. Miami -9.5. Let's go.
I just love the Patriots being able to come down here like playing with house fucking money. Like,
I might go. I might go. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to actually take my daughters.
It's like I'm as big a Patriots fan as there is. And it's like, if you think I give a fuck whether they win this game or not, I'm just being honest, man.
You're not as big of a Patriots fan as there is when
maybe 2 minutes ago
you're like, I love the Jets and the Dolphins. It's one thing to say I respect the Jets and the Dolphins organizationally. But
I've always said you can't
relate
control
to that sentiment at all.
Well, I've always said, like, I could never find myself rooting for certain teams. I can't root for the Miami Heat, can't root for the New York Yankees. But when I sit down and I watch the Dolphins and I watch Mike McDaniel on the sidelines, I can't root against them. Neither
one of those teams was an imminent threat while
fair enough.
Tom Brady was winning those Super Bowls. But please get to your next fucking
fair
selection.
enough. 4th pick, Eagles -6.5 at the Commanders. I've said it earlier. I don't think great teams give one back. And even though, the Eagles, maybe they're not in the form they were last year, but they just took care of the Dolphins by 14 points. I just still think they're a great team. They held the Dolphins to 17. I just think they could go down here. The Commanders came up to Philly in week 4 and gave them all they can handle. And I think Eagles probably still pissed losing to the Jets 2 weeks ago. And when you go to the Super Bowl and you lose, I think there are spots in the regular season schedule that you just handle. I think they go in there. I think they're locked in. I think they score 30 points. I don't like Sam Howell. Like, ever since I saw him fixing his hair on Monday night or Thursday night game, I was like, we're in trouble when they lose to the Bears outright. He's not the guy. And I don't like the team chemistry down there in Washington. I don't like the coaching staff. Just a lot of with Bieniemy and Rivera. Riverboat. It's just a kind of a disaster. I think Philadelphia's coaching staff will adjust to what Washington did well in week 4. I think that's one of the blowouts on the board. I like that 6.5. I think it'll go to 7.5. Let's go with the Eagles -6.5 at the Commanders. Pick 4.
Every time I bet against the Washington Commanders, Terry McLaurin comes back to bite me. But if you'll recall here on Anik Squared, I lost a play on the Eagles -8 home to the Commanders just a few weeks ago. They're just much better than that team. That's my favorite of your selections by far. All right, I will close out my 5. Last one out for me was the Saints and a pick 'em at the Colts. Absolutely love New Orleans this weekend. Gardner Minshew. Like, what are you doing, man? Like, I'm not betting on Gardner Minshew here 2-4. So I do like the Saints in a pick 'em. But the last game in for me, Cody Merrow and everybody else. Carolina Panthers +3, home to the Houston Texans. Bryce Young and CJ Stroud going head to head. Got to think both men will play well here, seemingly in a position to do so. Panthers and Texans both off the bye week. Carolina still winless. DeMeco Ryans might be the coach of the year for Houston, but you're telling me I need the Texans here to win by 4 on the road against what should be a team hungry for a win and what might be a good chance to get its first win of the year. So Panthers +3. And I think this game will go a long way in proving what Bryce Young is or is not. You know, can he at least turn this rookie season around off the bye week and not just have it be flashes of decency this year? So my bet is on yes, he can. Panthers have already played some tough games, right? At Seattle, at Detroit, at Miami. Those are out of the way, all out of division. I think they show up here. The Texans defense hasn't allowed a ton of points, but they can be thrown on. They can be run on. I think Chuba Hubbard shows up in the box score here. Panthers +3, and maybe to get their first win of the year here against CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans.
I like it. So I had to move off of not only some of the picks that I had there, like Seattle, but move off some of the alternate selections. But one of my alternate selections, which is what a great way to close out the show. Give me the Texans -3 at the Panthers going head to head against you. I mean, I don't even need to say anything. I don't have anything in my notes. Like CJ Stroud. I mean, I think if they were to flip that draft right now, a lot of people would take Stroud. I do like Bryce Young. But Louis Riddick loves the Texans, and I love riding that train. And so to me, a small number at 3, I just like it. The Panthers, I said on a previous episode of Anik Squared, there are people in a survivor pool who are just betting literally against the Panthers every week and doing pretty well so far. So give me the Texans -3, head-to-head against you. Final selection, week 8. So what else you got? We were supposed to have that new studio installed yesterday over there, huh? That didn't happen.
Yeah, still holding out hope that within the next week we'll have all the bells and whistles, 3 cameras, and then I can stare at you right here. Actually, today I might have just put the cans down and grabbed you by the shirt, and but it's all right. We got through it.
All right, episode 8 in the book, week 8. Check this out, though. New merch, jonanik.com. Anyone who checks out the Anik and Florian podcast, got all sorts of merch there. More stuff coming along. For the great Cody Merrow running the show, and Craig, 9er Sports and Entertainment, and obviously my brother Jon Anik. My name is Jason Anik. We'll see you on week 9 next week. Enjoy the games. Have a good night.